First, let me just give Representative Mike Glanton a warm round of applause for taking us on this wonderful tour. I apologize today for the small turnout. We had some folks that was coming, and again, well, I guess we're told the weather just came down on us, but we're certainly glad that we're here today to continue the tradition of Caribbean American Heritage Day at the Capitol. I think this year I learned a lot more. Smaller crowd, and Representative Glanton did a great job in explaining to us a little bit of history about the Capitol and what goes on between the House, Senate, which is what the objective was, to get us to really understand how the process works. So we're really appreciative of that, Representative Mike Glanton. Okay. Are there any questions for Representative Mike Glanton as we are here?
First of all, I know we got a couple of questions, so let me just say this. Hopefully your tour today was very informative, and you kind of understand the process and kind of the things that go on behind the scenes. The average public person only sees the results, but they don't see it under construction. And so you've been able to see it under construction. And I do want to say, correct one thing that Courtney said, and that was to apologize for the small turnout. Never despise humble beginnings. As a preacher in my congregation, I'll preach to my wife. And I know that I've done what God has asked me to do. And so if you've done what you've been asked to do, then your results are your results. And what you have to do is remember, never allow anyone or anything to define what success is in your life. And we are so indoctrinated today into believing that numbers mean success when it doesn't. The average the average small church with 10, 12 members do more work in the community than a mega church. Because a mega church is usually focused on their internal kingdom and their internal egos. And they're not there for the community. They're there to build their kingdoms. Now, I'm not bashing mega churches. God bless the child who has his own. But never, ever allow what someone else have to determine your success. Maybe this is what God intended for you to have this morning. Remember, Jesus started out with 2. And whether you believe in that or not, believe in the analogy. And so these folk, you had a closer, more intimate tour. I wouldn't have been able to do this if your numbers had been larger. I wouldn't have been able to do this had session been in. There's a lot of things that you've been able to take part in that would not have been able to happen in the manner we've been able to take our time. And you've been down here quite a bit, and you know that one thing we don't do down here is take our time. We rush through everything. We rush through the day, we rush through eating, we rush through passing bills, we rush through making your lives miserable. We rush through things down here. And in an election year, we double that expediency. So never ever despise starting out small. Because you have now a better knowledge, a more informed knowledge, a more embedded knowledge that you can now go back and say to folks, you weren't there, but you should have been there. That's the way it is. So numbers are not always the thing. When I first got elected in 2006, it was 5 of us that worked on my campaign. Me, my wife, and 3 grandchildren. And people said to me then, there's absolutely no way you can compete with your competitors. You have no money. You have because no money, no campaign. You have no money. You have no campaign. And folks are reluctant to volunteer for people who have not already been proven. But they didn't know the God that I serve. When it's intended for you, it's intended for you. And so when you going into that bank and you're trying to get a loan and you don't have all the prerequisites that the person next to you, just look at them and say, let's see who's coming out smiling. You know what I'm saying? You got to write that PhD in your life. He said, write the vision, make it plain, run it. Don't ever worry about numbers. Don't ever worry about those things that don't matter. I make it a point not to allow those things that don't matter to matter. Okay? And that's how we get caught up in life. That's why we get stopped in life. That's why we have so many obstacles in life. You take those stones and those stumbling blocks and you make them stepping stones. And you build on them. And defeat don't always mean defeat. I'm here to tell you. And here to tell you. In 2010, I relinquished my seat in the House of Representatives to run for the Senate. I came up short. I was defeated in that race in the Senate. So I had to sit out for 2 years in order for me to come back and run. But guess what? In those 2 years, I traveled to Puerto Rico. I went to Hawaii. I went to Colombia. Hello, somebody. I went to India. I went to Dubai. And I made more money in 2 years than I'd made in the previous 7. Spent more time with my wife and my family and started a business. You see what I'm saying? Yes. Just because the results say you didn't win don't mean you lost. Okay, y'all gonna get me started here this morning. So what I'm saying, I know y'all didn't come here for that. I know y'all don't need no motivation. And then because I was blessed to do that, in 2012, I had raised enough money to come back. I didn't have to get any money from any lobbyists. I didn't have to beg nobody for nothing. I didn't have to have no fundraiser. God had provided everything I needed to run that race. Amen. And when I got in the race, the same people that said, you're going to lose, were the same people that were lining up in 2012. They said, no way you're going to beat a black female incumbent law enforcement officer in Clayton County. When 54% of the voting population are black female, you ain't gonna win. We didn't just win. How you like me now? You see what I'm saying? God will open up doors for you. He will open it up for you. So whatever your personal or professional endeavors are, even though you run into some stumbling blocks, make them your stepping stones. Make your haters your motivators. Give me a reason to prove you wrong. Because that's what's going to get me up every single day. Okay? And so why I've been so successful down here is one thing. In 2006, when I was elected, that was 3 years after the Republicans took control. And I've never served in the majority, so I don't know what it is to be in the majority. And so I understood one thing. I said, well, he who has the goal rules. So how do I get to know the people with the goal? When I was in high school, true story, I wasn't an AB student. I was not an AB student. I was a struggling high school student. Now I was an honor student in college. But in high school, I was distracted. Girls, recess, football. Y'all do the math. But I did one thing right. I had 12 consecutive years of perfect attendance. 12 consecutive. Now people say, oh, compared to Beta Clubs and National Honor Society, what is a perfect attendance? Well, a perfect attendance is what I didn't realize I was doing was building my character to be committed, to be dedicated, to be dependable, to be on time. If you're on time, in my mind, you're late. Because if you're always before time, you'll never be late. And so just being there, I tell the children that I talk to all the time, if you just show up, you'll learn something. Even if it's like me, by accident. You'll learn something. And so what I started to do in 2006 is that character, I show up to committees. Republicans will come in, I'd be sitting there 15, 20 minutes before committee. Nobody's in the room with me. Just wait. And the Republican chairman would walk in the room and I could see them on their phones trying to get a quorum because they got to get a quorum and they don't want a quorum that's consistent of too many Democrats because they're trying to pass something, them Democrats going to shoot it down. So they're trying to get Republicans to get in the committee. So I just sit there and they start to notice. They say, hey, Representative Glanton is at least going to be here. We can count on him to help us get a quorum. So then I sit there and then they said, well, if Reverend Glanton's going to be here, we might as well give him something to do. Y'all see where I'm going? Yes. And one thing evolved to the other and to the other, and that's why I'm on the prestigious committees that I'm on today, because I proved myself to be dedicated, to be committed, and to be dependable. So never underestimate your humble beginnings. Right. I got into politics doing nothing but opening the doors, locking up, and sitting up the chairs in the Democratic Party of Clayton County. That's how I started. I just say, hey, let me do anything. They said, well, we need somebody to help us sit up and tear down. Hey, I'm your guy. I'll help you tear up and sit down. And everybody will come in, they had the seats out, and when they leave, I'd stack them back up, mop the floor, make sure the lights were out, and I'd go home. And people began to notice. They say, well, at least Mike Glanton's going to be here. You see where I'm going? So you may not have the money. You may not have the big old entourage. You may not have a whole lot of things that other people have to get to where you're going. But if you just stick to it, if you focus on where you're supposed to go, don't worry about your peripherals. It don't matter. That's why horses, when they run, they put them things on them so they can't see what's around them, because what's around them don't matter. The first thing I do in my car, okay, in an analogy, is I rip off the rearview mirror, because what's behind me don't matter. I'm focused on what's in front of me. Okay? So I hope that in some small way, something I've said will stick with you and will help you not only in your political endeavors, if you have them, but in your personal and professional endeavors as well. It don't take much to make much. The only thing between a little and a much is you. And that's how you make it. That's how you succeed. Okay? So y'all continue to pray for me, pray for my family, and pray for my constituency, as well as praying for the great state of Georgia. I do have a resolution that I'd like to just present to you. I'm not going to read it, but certainly it's something to recognize today as Caribbean American Day at the state capitol. And I'm going to present this to Courtney. And anytime you need to get in touch with me, or you have an issue or something, and I don't believe in political lines. I'm a state representative. I'm not a city representative. I'm not a county representative. I'm a state representative. And the last time I checked, if you lived anywhere in the state of Georgia, you're in the state.
That's right.
Okay? And so if I can be of assistance to you, please. One announcement, I do want you to know that on May the 5th, we have the National Day of Prayer in Clayton County. So if you're interested in coming to the National Day of Prayer, it's a thing that's celebrated all over the nation on the same day. And it's a breakfast, nice breakfast. If you've never been there, it's $15. It's well worth it. On May 5th at Clayton State University in the Continuing Education Building. Okay? On May 14th, and I definitely would like you to write these dates down. On May the 14th, I have an annual festival. And those of you who've been there, you know it's a big deal. Matter of fact, we've shut down the downtown Jonesboro, Main Street, and had a really good time. We used to do it at Rex, and we've had anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 people come. I usually invite Miss Africa USA to come, Miss Georgia, and I have a whole bunch of musicians that are there. I like to help, I was in the entertainment business for over 35 years. So I love to help upcomers to get that publicity and get out there and do their thing. And this is a great platform for that. So if you want to do that, please get in touch with me. Let me know. I'll be more than happy to. And if you want to volunteer. If you want to volunteer to help at the festival, you want to volunteer to help on the campaign. How many of y'all know where my office is downtown Jonesboro? Have you seen my campaign office downtown? It's downtown Jonesboro, right there at the intersection of the four-way stop sign. You know where the old historic courthouse is? And Arts Clayton? Well, right across the tracks. My building, it used to be the old Arts Clayton. Okay, and so I've been in that building now for 9 years. And so you're more than welcome to stop past there. And if you just want to come by and talk to me sometime, we're going to have open house, have free, well, too late for hot chocolate now, but, well, depends. But we'll have, something there for you. So, yes, quick questions.
Sir, excuse me, what time is the event on the 14th?
14th, I believe our event is going to run from 12 to 8. And we have music performance all day long. Choirs, individuals, dancers, steppers, whatever. You have talent, bring it. You don't have talent, come fake it. They say if you got it, flaunt it. If you don't, fake it. Okay, you had a question, sir.
Yeah, just what qualifies someone to become a legislator?
Been 18 years old, a United States citizen, and have $400. And tell them where you're running.
District 105 in Lawrenceville, Georgia. I'm going to be covering Lawrenceville, Grayson, part of Loganville and part of Dakota.
Good for you. Outstanding. And who's currently?
Joyce.
Chandler? Okay. Work hard.
Oh, you know,
Work hard. All right.
big deal.
Are there any more questions for Representative Glanton?
Any comments? Well, yes, sir.
Really, I'll say, inspired me. I'm actually running for commissioner in Clay County. And, what you said, started off with almost nothing. And that's particularly your situation you talked about is my situation. So, and, a lot of things are opening up for me and a lot of other opportunities are opening up. But, nonetheless, it is a difficult ride. And what you said really helped, inspire me to keep pushing forward.
My advice to you is to run like you're scared. Okay? And remember this, and I run every year, I run like I'm scared. I don't care how long I've been there, I run like I'm scared. Okay? And I run my campaigns just like I did with the same motivation. Now, keep in mind that most incumbents like to sleep at night. I never sleep. At 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, guess what? I'm out there climbing hills, putting signs in places that are hard for people to get to, but can be seen. I climbed hills, I climbed trees, I climbed poles. I put stuff in ditches across swampland. I didn't put them where they were easy to get to. I put them where they could be easily seen and hard to get to. People don't want to get in their dungarees and climb mountains just to get your sign down. So that's where I'm putting it. I'm not competing with those guys on the side of the road in the right of ways. No. I'm coming to your yard, and I'm going up on the hill, and I'm crossing the slump. I put on my big old rubber boots, and I walk right through that water, because I know you're not. Making sense? I'm not giving anybody advice. I'm just telling you what I did. You just happen to be here and heard it.
You campaign, and I know one of the things, the signs are really great, but it's usually for your supporters. Because I think the most effective is the door knocking. But I think signs are good, but your supporters are the ones that really want to see that you're making.
No question, you're making a good point, but let me give you something you might not have thought about. If you come to put a sign in Mike Glanton's yard, ain't no telling how many votes you just picked up.
Yeah, I agree.
Not just your neighbors, your passer-throughs, the whole 9 yards. Okay? So don't underestimate the power of sign. Now, sign don't vote. You still got to follow up. A sign do not vote. Okay? But signs mean something. Okay? So find some people in the communities that are prominent folk that believe in what you're trying to do and put a sign in their yard. They're going to pull their families, and they're going to pull a whole lot of their neighbors and people that are passing through. So enough about politics. Any other question? Well, again, I hope you've enjoyed your time down here in the Capitol. I do want you to know that this meant a lot to me. It is my day off, and I've got it is my day off, and while the rest of my colleagues are at home resting for these long days we got coming the next couple of days, this is just what I do, and this is what you got to do. You got to dare to be different. You got to dare to be different. Okay, and so we appreciate you being here today, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to spend time with you. And for those of you who have ambition, whether it's personal, professional, or political, I wish you Godspeed. Thank you.
Amen. Well, we certainly, Representative Glanton, I really appreciate you coming out here today. I consider you, sir, to be a mentor, a friend, and my pastor.
Yes, sir.
So I truly appreciate it. And I'm so glad that you went a little bit to explain to my fellow colleagues here some of the tips of what they can do to help better what they're trying to do. So we certainly appreciate that.
Well, one last comment is this. Let's just talk about the 500-pound elephant in the room. Okay? Let's just be real for a minute. The Caribbean community is a split community. It's a fragmented community. It's time out for that. It's time out. It's time out for 2 separate Caribbean days. It's time out for 2 separate Caribbean groups, or 3 or 4, depending on what year it is. It's time out for that. Because if you do not come together, this is my prediction. If you do not come together as a community, you will never leverage any political power. You will never leverage any influence in the community. You will never, ever be in a position to effectively and efficiently impact your lives directly and the lives of your community and your children. That is a fact. You will be able to go out and celebrate things. You'll be able to go out and have festivals and sell some Caribbean food and introduce people to jerk chicken and all these things. You'll be able to do that, and you'll probably do it successfully. But anything beyond that, you will be null and void. So my appeal to those in this room today is to be the disciples, to be the voices of reason. Go back and mend your community. Bring your communities together. Doesn't matter whether it's Association of Clayton County or the Association of Georgia or the Association of the United States of America. A house divided against itself will not stand. I didn't say cannot, may not. I said will not stand. So go out and appeal to these folks. The separatism is exactly what they did in the Bible when they separated by language. The exact thing happened in slavery. The Middle Passage is they separated you from those who could speak your language. Because if I can divide, I can conquer. And so my message to you today, the same message that I extend to my own children, my own community, and African Americans in this state and across this nation, is if you don't come together, other people will.